Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Altcoin Mentors YouTube channel. My name is Peter, and today I'm going to talk about the daily technical analysis for Bitcoin, Ripple, Ether, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash, my most recent Bitcoin trade to the upside, and the importance of ATR depending on where you are now. What I mean by that is that we'll look at the tweet that I sent out early this morning. So if you look at this page, it says that basically this is a very important area for Bitcoin. There's resistance at 8,400, then the 200 daily EMA, and then 9,300, which is major resistance. So before we can get up to a larger bull market, back up to the highs of last year, even to the highs of this year, we have to understand that it has to get through some short-term hurdles first. So that's one part of it. So let me also show you what I tweeted out earlier and why range is so important. So what's happened is that if you look at the range for Bitcoin, the daily is 550, the 4 hours 220, and the 1 hour is 184. So just on a mathematical point, when you look at this, the thing that should really pop out is how close the 184, the 1 hour, is to the 4 hour. How come the 184 is so close? It's such a big number. So 550 to 4 hour, 220 is very steady. But the 1 hour at 184, that's too big. It should be around 100. It should be about 50% or lower than the 4 hour. So the reason for that is that big pop. There's this one big pop to the upside, and because of that, it affects the hourly ATR. So when people see that, people can be like, oh man, the hourlies are looking really good, and the ATR range is back in session, and now we can just like go for it, back up to the moon. But that's not what's happening here, because on a long-term basis, we're still in a downtrend for most of the cryptos. That's why I asked, what is your plan of the day? So mine was going long, but taking quicker profits. So let's talk about what I tweeted out a little bit after that. Is that the idea is that we're getting close to 8,400. Bitcoin was almost at 8,300. So as it was getting higher and higher, I want to remind people that before we can get higher, you have to understand there's some hurdles. So as it's getting closer to 8,400, I might be long, but I don't really believe in the long side to the upside. Not because I'm a hater or I'm trashing cryptos. I mean, I'm trading cryptos, and for a while I was trading cryptos to the long side. But when I look at the charts tell me that from a very objective view, that on a long-term basis recently, it's in a downtrend. That's why as it gets closer to 8,400, I said I was going to be trailing my stop and be grateful for a small profit. That's what ended up happening. So let's look at the trade first. So go to Bitcoin, we'll go to the 15-minute chart, and I'll show you exactly where my entries were and my exits, and give you a better idea of what's going on here. So let's look at this. So we had the pop over here, right? But look at that pop. It pops up and it never confirms here until a day later. This is overnight action. I'm sleeping, so I can't really trade it. I would love to have traded it right here. This would have been a great entry point for me, because then here I would have taken profits. But in the morning, I was lucky enough to enter because it bounced off of short-term resistance support at 80.50. I took the signal to the upside on color changing confirmation. I got filled at 80.94. It went higher and higher and higher. And if you look at the top, the high was 82.38. Right? So it's getting closer to not only this is the 200 EMA on the daily basis, but this is the medium-term resistance at 8,400. So it's getting closer and closer. I started tightening it up. So then, right, what I did was I tightened it up, I put it to the lows, and I ended up getting kicked out at 81.54, and I took a very small profit, very small, right? But I'm grateful for it, because at that point in time, I was thinking, yeah, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have held on to a little bit longer. And I almost came back in at this point right here. So we have color change here, and then we have confirmation right here. But here is where, the problem lies, right? Is that if I got in here, right, it's getting very close to where I got out at and where I entered in before. So it has to really break this range, and it never really did. And then so I decided not to take the trade because I was winding down from most of my other index trades. I just wanted to see how things were going. So I looked at it, and then later on, it's in a very rangy motion, and then it starts going to the downside. So do I think it's going to keep on going to the downside? Honestly, I don't know, right? I think it might get below to about 7,700. But as you can see here, it's the same thing that I talked about over the last 2 weeks or so, is that it pops and then range. Pop down, and it might range. And then maybe it'll pop up, maybe it'll pop down. But because that's the the cadence of the market recently, what you have to do is you have to take profits quickly because that's what's been going on over a long period of time. You see the pop up, sideways, pop up, sideways, pop down. Maybe it'll go sideways because that's what it did over here too. Pop down, sideways, pop up. And before that, same thing here. Pop up, slow upside to the market, and then big pop down, and then same thing here. Down, sideways, right back up. So it's hard to swing trade. So a couple days ago, I said I'm not going to be swing trading anymore because the ranges are so very tight. And so when people look at the ranges now, they say, oh, it's not tight. But they really are, because if you look at the ranges now, the daily range is below 500, the 4-hour range is at 260, and the 1 hour is still at 184. So only the 1 hour is at a decent number. The 4-hour and the dailies are still lower because the fact is that what happened with the one pop, there was no follow through. So that big pop seemed like a big pop, but on a daily point of view, it wasn't. It was very, very small. So you can't get too excited over something that happens once and doesn't repeat itself. So let's look at the long-term market for Bitcoin. Here are the daily charts. So in my opinion, there are two places where people got into trouble. Right here and right here. Because what happens is that it went down, it went from 20,000 all the way back down to like 10.7, almost 50%. If you're a big Fibonacci fan, it hits the number, it goes a little bit higher, it goes back down, retraces to almost a perfect number, it goes a little bit higher, makes a higher wave high right here, and then it goes down. And so when it comes back up, people think, oh, it's going to go back up. But now, what we see here is we have a lower low, a lower low. We have a lower high, a lower high, lower high. And now we have a lower high, right? And we don't know what's going to happen here, right? So could this be the lower low that we're waiting for to propel it to us? We won't know until it actually crosses this higher high here. That happens to be right around 9,400 here, which is a major resistance to the upside. So before it can get there, though, it has to cross the 200 daily, medium-term resistance, and then if it goes there. If it goes there, then I think it has a very good chance of getting back up to 11.7 and possibly 13,000. And then if it clears that, then go back up to 16 and almost 20,000. So that's the view for Bitcoin on the long term. So let's talk about something that's a little bit more exciting, and that is Ripple. The problem with Ripple, though, is what I talked about before, is that when you look at the daily ATR, you see that Ripple had a good move. So 2.4 cents, 4.3 cents, but it hasn't really changed that much on the daily ATR. The daily ATR is still 5.3 cents. So even though the last couple of days have had a big move to the upside on Ripple, it doesn't mean it's going to continue to go there. And right now, if you look at where it's at now, it's exactly at 68 cents. It hit the 50 EMA up to the top, and then it bouncing below that, but it also bouncing off of short-term resistance at 68 cents. So until it can get a little bit higher, right, we still won't know, because the real wave is right there at about 73 cents, which was one of my targets to the downside below. Until it can really close and confirm above it, I don't really see it going much higher. So let's look at Ether. So Ether also had a nice pop up, but just like we talked about before, on ATR. The 4-hour ATR is what worries me the most, because what it does is that there's an overdue influence on the most recent activity, right? And that can hurt it, because it can run out of gas, in a little bit. And right now, it hit major resistance at 502. And so it has to close there before it can go higher to about 566 and then 662. But it really has a long way to go, because it has to really close above 600 for it to create a new higher high wave. So we have a lower high, lower low, lower high. We have a lower low, lower high, lower low. We don't know where this is going to end up, but if this doesn't go back up higher past 600, then Ether can also be in trouble back to the downside. So let's look at Litecoin on a long-term view. So Litecoin is very similar. It might look a little bit stronger because it hasn't crossed below the February lows. It came there close twice. It had a higher high wave to the upside. So for a while, I thought Litecoin might be the strongest, but then it recently got hurt a lot. And the ATRs, though, that's the good thing though, is that the ATRs are pretty normal. So it can sustain itself a little bit longer, possibly, to the upside than some of the others, which might burn out. So if I was looking to trade something in the near-term future on a daily basis, I might be looking at Litecoin to the upside, but also taking quick profits until it clears about 142. Lastly, let's look at Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash has similar good news on ATR. It's well in line with what it's done historically. So as it moves to the upside, it can sustain itself. And before, I told you that Bitcoin Cash is in no man's land. It's in blue ocean, because there's such a huge gap between major support down here at 525 and major resistance at 853. And it did cross the lows of February, and it continually going a little bit lower. So until it makes a next wave, which is really at about 1150. I mean, that far. It has to go up almost 50% more to create a higher high wave. Then the bull trend can be extended for Bitcoin Cash. But until that happens, it can have a harder time. So for more advice on trading and investing in crypto, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos. Don't forget that we have external stuff on Twitter, on Telegram, and we have a model portfolio. And if you have any questions or comments, please write them down below. As always, we do a very good job of answering questions and comments in a very rapid fashion. I'm done trading for this week. I'm going to take some time off over the weekend, get myself settled. I just came back from Korea. I'm still a little bit jet lagged, and my body hasn't really gotten used to it yet. So this weekend, I'm going to relax a little bit more and try to sleep in. So I hope you had a good week trading cryptos. Have a great weekend, and see you in the next video.